everybody. Pastor Randy here. Welcome to Making It Simple. Great to be back with you. It is a beautiful Wednesday. We're going to jump back into our lesson. It's over. Or is it? We left Peter and John on the boat. Jesus has sent them back out. The net has been cast on the right side of the boat. Again, not directional, but the right place, looking for the answer that you're seeking. And Peter is still struggling, and because they've heard this voice from the shore saying, friends, you don't have any fish. Go back out. It tells us that they didn't recognize the voice. But as they began to bring in the net that was too heavy to lift, it tells us, John looks at Peter and he says, "It is the Lord." It was with an excitement. It was with a jubilance. It was with a realization of who they were dealing with. We have to remember, this is after the resurrection, third appearance. Peter, in and of himself, has been unable to really focus because of the events prior to the resurrection. And he's struggling. And I think it's important that we understand as John is speaking, and there's others there, but John, it says, told Peter. So John recognized that Peter was wrestling with something, that things just weren't okay with him. It's oftentimes that those around us see something that we don't see, because we begin to embrace the pain. We begin to normalize the confusion and chaos and just write it off as, well, that's just how it is. But that should never be normal. It's not the way it's supposed to be. And so John, like a brother, is saying to Peter, it's the Lord. He's right there. And then what we're all supposed to do for each other, point each other to the better answer. And in this particular case, there was no better answer than the Lord himself. And so Peter wasn't struggling with the idea that he was forgiven or loved, because Jesus had made that abundantly clear. Rather, what Peter was struggling with is, how could I ever be of use again? How could I ever serve again? I mean, how could Jesus possibly ever give me another opportunity to be anything when I failed in such a terrible way? We begin to see, as this is unfolding, how that relates to us right now. See, this is the beauty and the relevancy of Scripture. So many people, they want to give you the historical context and the theological context, but it's the life application that points us to the better direction. It's the life application that points us to the answer. And the answer is always Jesus, every single time. And oftentimes we miss that because we get into the arguments about what this word means and what that word means and the year that it was written and what kind of paper it was on and which version came out first. Friends, God is not the author of confusion. When we begin to understand how we were created, when we begin to understand the desire, and that is a very important word, the desire of God, Jesus made it clear, I want us to be one, like I and the Father are one. Well, how do we do that? We remove the barriers. We remove the chaos. We remove the confusion. But yet still today, societally and every other kind of way, we keep adding to the confusion. But that's not what the intent was. We can see Peter's heart, his desire. He wanted this to be right. But there's a distance there because I'm not sure about me. How did I get here? What went off the rails? How did I? There's something about that being unsettled. There's something about that being not at peace that keeps us from being able to see the answer, as I said in a prior lesson, even if it's standing right in front of us. So John tells Peter, it's the Lord. He's standing right there. He's on the shore. And so it tells us in verse 7 that Peter almost instantly began to have the shades or whatever was in front of his eyes removed. And it tells us he plunged into the water. Like just, that was the instant reaction. It kind of made me think about the scene from Forrest Gump when he's coming in on Jenny on the boat and Lieutenant Dan is sitting on the pier. He just dove off the boat. He wasn't paying attention as to whether it was sailing in the right direction or if anybody was driving or whatever. And he just dove in because he was so overjoyed to see his friend. Peter, it tells us, plunged into the water, which basically was a statement saying, I need to get to him. There's my answer. I need to get to him. This speaks of his desire to be close. Do you feel that way? Are you wrestling with something today that says, I'm not as close to the Lord as I need to be or as I want to be? But he's right there. He's right there. Peter, it tells us, dove into the water. He wanted to restore because he feels like something is broken. Oftentimes we struggle with that too because I know I do. I want to make it right. I want to fix it, but I don't know how. And the frustration of that actually compounds the problem even more because it gets heavier. It becomes a real battle within because I know there's an answer, but I don't know how to find it. I don't know how to overcome the obstacles that are in the way to get to it. Peter just dove in. He just dove in and said, I am going to get there. So as we watch that and paint that in our minds and begin to see that scene, we begin to see this is very relatable. Maybe this is a story that you've heard before, but you've never heard it like this, or you've never thought about it like this, because oftentimes with Bible stories, we only equate it as just that. We don't see the lesson that is there. We don't see the application that is there. In other words, we don't put ourselves in the scene. We don't put ourselves in that particular scenario, in that character. But that's exactly what we're seeing here, is the ability to do that. This story relates to every single one of us in some capacity because we all deal with some kind of emotional battle. And again, that is not a negative statement. That's a fact. I'm not exempt. You're not exempt. We all do it. And here, Peter is our focal point. It's very, very clear. And he says he dove in. He plunged into the water. We begin to see the desire is there, the understanding, the wanting to is there, but something keeps blocking the door. Something seemingly stays in the way that I can't get over whatever that obstacle is. You know, I want to get to that side of the room, but there's something in the way. And rather than understanding, it's there for a reason. There's a lesson moment there. There's a learning moment. Well, Peter had created that within himself. It was not God. God did not put that there. He did. Oftentimes we blame God or someone else for all of the adversity in our lives, when indeed, oftentimes what's holding on to it, what's keeping it in place is you. It's me. Forgiveness is a great example of that. Sometimes we really hold on to hard feelings towards someone or something, and we wonder why we have such a heaviness and a burden, because you won't let it go. The other person don't care. They've gone on with life. It's you that's holding on to it. And so Peter has been cleared. He's been forgiven. He's been brought back into the fold, but he can't let it go. And so we see as he dove into the water, he's so excited for another chance in his mind to make things right. It tells us he just dives in and heads to shore. The others are following in on the boat, and it says that it's full of fish. It's a beautiful scene. It's a powerful moment that we begin to realize wait a minute, that could be me. We're going to continue in this as they land on the shore and Jesus is there. But what is he doing? He indeed is there, and he is prepared for their arrival. Sounds familiar, right? As he says, I go to prepare a place for you. We're going to talk more about that tomorrow when we come back right here at Making It Simple. God bless you.